with Dr. Benita Zahn.
To say that life during the pandemic is stressful, it's an understatement. Well, a whole new level of angst has been added for parents of school-age children. Send them to school, keep them home, and then also the angst for the kids, whether it be, K through 12 or beyond. Psychotherapist Tom Templeton joins us to help. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
So, tough times, what's a parent to do? They are pressed with so many choices. Let's start to unpack the emotion of it a little bit. Help us out here.
Sure. I think in the uncertainty of all of this is affecting people in different ways. And my biggest piece of advice right up front is to really have an open dialogue and an ongoing dialogue that doesn't just, it's not just a one-time thing. Parents with other parents, parents with their children, parents with the school. I think that there's just a lot of unanswered questions, and I completely understand the uncertainty and the anxiety that goes along with that.
So I've got a friend whose son chose not to go away for the first semester.
Okay.
College, freshman.
Yes.
And she's told me that she's been taking a lot of grief from other parents.
Wow.
So help those parents cope with that kind of peer pressure.
Sure. I mean, I think probably the most the easiest way to do that is to point to the news itself, which the University of Notre Dame had over 100 new cases of COVID and actually closed down the campus alongside the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill because of all of the new cases, and they've gone to online instruction only. So I think that it's not just about unfounded fears. It's about the reality that this is going to be a problem on campuses, whether it be, elementary, secondary ed, college education. I think this is going to be a problem throughout the country, and I think we need to be prepared for that. In terms of, again, the peer pressure, and we've talked about this before, I think it's just about, again, speaking with like-minded folks and also being comfortable in your own skin and with your own conclusions. If safety is your priority, then I think that you need to do what's best for your family and sort of tune everything else out as best you can.
Is there sort of a checklist that parents can go through, an emotional health checklist, as they're coming to a decision as to what to do?
Sure. I think that's a really good question. I think some of it is in the details, right? So in terms of planning for yourself and for your children, as far in advance as you can do that sort of thing, the better. Unfortunately, because schools are in a planning phase right now, that they would normally be in the spring for the fall. I think there's a lot of sort of anxiety and unanswered questions, but you raise a good point, because as far as people's sort of socio-emotional health, I think self-care plays a big role in that, right? So what works for you may not work for everybody, but I know that for you, for instance, Benita, running, exercise is something that matters a great deal to you, and I know it's something that probably helps with your mental health. So if that's something for parents, I would say continue to exercise, continue to move your body. If it's getting together, whether it's virtually or socially distanced, with friends to have a glass of wine, I think that you should do that. Reading a book, talking with like-minded folks, with other parents. I think that can be very helpful. I also think, when it really comes down to it, if things become overwhelming, I think seeing a therapist. There are a lot of us who are doing telehealth, and I think it's really important to be able to have an outlet, because sometimes in the socially distanced world, and as our economy is just reopening, there aren't always those opportunities.
Jump in for a sec. So
Please.
if say I'm the parent and
Yeah.
I'm struggling with, I don't know how I'm going to juggle with, Johnny at home and doing my job and my husband doing his job in another room. Walk me through it. How do you help me cope with this?
That's an important question. And I think that some folks, and actually I've experienced this in my practice, I think some folks have it more difficult than others who are, most of their job requires them being on the phone, in meetings throughout the day. And so if kids are home, how do you make sure that you're present for them and make sure that they're getting their work done? I have read on groups on Facebook and other social media outlets that there are some parents who are actually in a safe and socially distanced way. There are some parents who are sort of at-home parents or have a more flexible job who are actually having some of their kids' friends come over, and again, separated enough, wearing masks, that they're actually going to be able to do at-home instruction at someone else's house. Who may have a little bit more flexibility. So again, I think it's that communication in the community, whether it be on social media or just personal relationships that you have. I think that there are a lot of people in the same boat. When this first struck in the spring, so in March, and schools closed suddenly, both the schools I think they did a great job, given what the time that they had, but I think the schools were sort of underprepared. I know families were underprepared. And I think that we've had some time to plan and to sort of build those relationships. And again, I think it's plausible to work these kinks out in a way that might have been a little more difficult in the spring.
And Tom, before I say thanks for your time,
sure.
Junior says, and let's play both sides. Yeah. Please, I want to go back to school and see my friends, but the parents are not comfortable. Or Junior says, no. I'm too afraid to go back to school. How does
that's very important. So social relationships obviously matter a great deal. I think that some parents and students are under the misapprehension that it's going to be the same as it was, and it's not. There's not going to be shoulder to shoulder in the cafeteria. You'll be maybe waving to your friend from across the hallway 10 feet away, and that might be the closest you get all day. Otherwise, you'll be wearing masks, you do this, that, and the other thing. And so, I mean, if it's about the social thing, I get it. I mean, you are in that environment, but it's going to be very different. And I think that parents need to sort of preset their kids for that now, in terms of practicing routines, et cetera, and also getting them to understand that this just simply isn't going to be what it was before. That said, there are going to be kids who are afraid. And I think parents need to listen to that. Obviously, at the end of the day, parents, hopefully in collaboration with their children, make these decisions. I think all of the information needs to be available and on the table for an entire family to make an informed decision and a safe and healthy decision for them.
I think that we will continue this discussion in the weeks ahead. New issues will be coming forward. Absolutely. Tom Templeton, psychotherapist, thanks so very much. And in not too distant future, you'll be having to make these decisions with your kids.
Absolutely, yes.
Be well, thank you. And thanks for joining us. New programs post every Monday and Thursday, and you can watch all the previous shows right here at WNYT.com. We'll see you next time.